The ideal scenario in a subject to is that you're taking over the mortgage for really the duration of the term. So if it's a 30-year mortgage and they're 12 years in and there's 18 years to go, the ideal scenario is that you have that mortgage, the ability to just make those payments for the next 18 years, then you own the house free and clear. But you also get the benefit of the amortization of the loan.
Guys, we're number 3 in this video series talking about subject to real estate investing. We often talk about this on the channel, some unique ways to make money, some side hustles, whatever you want to call it. A lot of people out there that are watching are doing W-2 jobs right now. Nothing wrong with that. That's not what we're saying here. But if you can bolt on some real estate investment strategies where you're not having to come out of pocket, maybe at some point you're going to transition out of that W-2 and be your own boss. Obviously, that's when you get to dictate your own terms, make your own money, and live financially free on your own time. So we're going to bring back a special guest today who, in my humble opinion, is as good as it gets when we're talking about non-traditional real estate investing, specifically zero cash, no credit deals. We're going to be right back on this subject to series, guys. So Scott, if you're just tuning in, we've got Mr. Scott Ulmer here, dear friend, done business with you for a long time. Love bringing you on the channel. You bring just an amazing amount of expertise. Guys, you can Google subject to online right now, and we talked about this offline earlier today. You're not going to find much. Well, right now, what's happening with market conditions, they're starting to cool off. So if you're following the trends, we're always talking about that here on the channel, of course, you are going to find those nuggets. You know, it could be a long-term buy and hold property that really costs you nothing other than a title transfer, and then you can build your portfolio up that way. So I laid the backdrop here. We're talking to folks on here on the channel. Obviously, we're going to go ahead and drop the links below on the previous videos that you've done. What's a sub to? Let's break it down. Kind of what is that 2-minute elevator pitch?
Yeah, 2-minute elevator pitch. So subject to, and thanks for having me, by the way. Always enjoy being here. Subject to is a real estate investing strategy, and it means that you are buying a home, taking legal title, but you're leaving the existing mortgage in place. So a seller that has the home, they are the borrower to the mortgage company or the bank. So they have a loan in their name. They're going to transfer legal title to you, leave their loan in place, and effectively allow you to take that over. You're not assuming it. You're simply taking over the payments. And so the phrase comes from you're buying the home subject to the underlying mortgage remaining in place on the home. So quick elevator pitch, that's what it means. Obviously, there's a lot behind it. Why would someone do that? And what do you look for? All of those things. But by definition, that's what a subject to is.
Yeah, and I appreciate kind of, that backstory on it. You know, guys, this is one of the best kept secrets in real estate right now. Go ahead and do your own research. You're not going to find many people out there promoting this, because it's technical, right? And when technicalities come into place, when legalese comes into place, you don't know how to really protect your flank. Obviously you can get yourself in peril very quickly. So I think a lot of people just mostly avoid it. Scott, you've done these deals 25 years at this point, so I feel very confident bringing him on the channel. Obviously, we are an advocate on behalf of the audience out there, so Scott's been fully vetted. I've done business with this guy for years, and he's as good as it gets. So what we want to do during this video series is obviously play both sides of the coin, right? So we can make this pretty picture, puppy dogs, rainbows, and ice cream, right? That would be phenomenal if that was every deal. And you walk with 50 grand, right? Every deal.
Everyone. That's how it happens.
That's not always how it works, though. So what we're going to focus on today are going to be the pros. So if you don't mind, kind of, what would the pro for an investor be on this?
Sure. So that'd probably be the easiest question to answer. Pro for an investor is you get basically a free house. Now, you made a great point earlier in the intro that you do, in some cases, have the cost to transfer a title. But for a free house, if that's your only cost out of pocket, it's about as good a deal as it gets.
And let's dive into that real fast. So closing costs on that would be approximate. Obviously, it's going to be based on price point. Give kind of a range. 2%
is usually a rule of thumb. And the only exception in this, and this is a very technical point, is that in part of your closing costs are insuring the title. And in this case, because you're buying it with a known lien remaining on the title, they can't insure that. They can sometimes insure around it, but sometimes that will drop your cost a little bit. And again, that's a very technical point, but you're going to have cost to transfer the title. There can be title insurance outside of the one lien that's on the property, which would be the first mortgage. But your cost, rule of thumb, is about 2% to keep in the back of your mind.
Got it. Okay. Just wanted to interject there. So keep going.
So the benefits for investors are you get a free house, and again with these, we said this in a prior video. If there's a house in a real bad neighborhood, it's a dog with fleas, never going to be right, but someone's willing to do this and give you the house subject to, it's up to you if you take it. But just because somebody says yes doesn't mean that it might be the best deal for you. So if you're walking into a deal that has a bunch of issues, the house has a bunch of repair needs, it might be in the wrong part of town. You knock on the door, you stand to the side when after you knock, that kind of area, that wouldn't be necessarily the ideal target. You can have the same exact scenario on a house that's worth $300,000. So I mean that might be in a pre-foreclosure, maybe a few payments behind. But as an investor, the benefit of the strategy is that you get legal title to a beautiful home in many cases with very little, if any, out-of-pocket expense. And the ideal scenario in a subject to is that you're taking over the mortgage for really the duration of the term. So if it's a 30-year mortgage and they're 12 years in and there's 18 years to go, the ideal scenario is that you have that mortgage, the ability to just make those payments for the next 18 years, then you own the house free and clear. But you also get the benefit of the amortization of the loan. So every time you as an investor make a payment on the house that you now own, even though the loan isn't in your name, and that may be hard for people to comprehend how that makes any sense, right?
That's where we get into the technicalities of it, because
and
that's a totally different mind shift from everything else that's out there. And that's why most people don't teach this, and a lot of people are completely unaware of it. So
yeah, it's because it's the technicalities and just being able to understand that, wait, I own the house, but somebody else has a loan on it. How does that work? Again, devil in the details. But as the investor, even though the loan isn't in your name, you benefit from paying that mortgage down every month. So those would be the obvious benefits for investors buying houses subject to.
Got it, guys. So we're going to continue to dive into this series. Obviously, we're going to continue on this episode here today. If you like information like this, guys, this is kind of a one-of-a-kind strategy. This is not something that you're going to just find everywhere you look. People that have done subject to deals are few and far between. Scott would certainly be one of the probably world-renowned experts, and he's a humble guy, so I'm going to watch his face turn red here real fast. But guys, if you like information like this, go ahead and smash that thumbs up button below. That's going to help out our algorithms, obviously, and give us an indication that you want more information like this. So, benefits for a homeowner.
Yes, benefits for a homeowner, and again, there can be different types of sellers that we're willing to do this. We talked about that in a prior video, who are the ideal targets. There's got to be an obvious motivation for a seller, right? That no one's going to just give you their home, legal title, leave their loan in place when they're current on their payments and have a bunch of equity. That wouldn't make sense, obviously. So most of the targets are going to be people that have some distress, typically financial. So you're a few payments behind, you're a homeowner, you're getting ready to lose it to foreclosure. One of the things that some that are in that situation don't realize is that you have a foreclosure on your credit. It's going to obviously tank your score, but it's going to affect every other thing that you buy for the next several years. You go to buy a car, TV, credit cards, because you have this foreclosure on your credit. Not only can you not buy a home again for a couple years, but everything else is going to be adversely affected. So there comes a point when certain sellers kind of throw in the towel, if you will, and they realize that, look, I'm not going to be able to save the home. The best thing I can do is to maybe try and save my credit. And of course, part of the value add in being an investor here, stepping in to agree to catch up payments and or to take over the problem that was once an asset to the seller. Now it's become more of an albatross or liability. So you step in and you're able to really save their credit, save them from a full-blown foreclosure. They don't get to stay in the property at that point, but ultimately the negatives that can come from a full-blown foreclosure really can haunt people for years to come. So the benefits for the homeowner or the seller is that they get to save their credit at the end of the day from a full foreclosure. There can be other benefits. If there's equity in the property, there's times where they can receive some of the equity, whether it's at the beginning or at the end of however the term is that you carve up with them. Again, that's a technical statement, but the benefits for the homeowner, the biggest one would be the fact that they get to save their credit in the end of the day.
Yeah, and that's huge, guys, because ultimately there's a penalty box if you go through a foreclosure, a deed in lieu of foreclosure, a short sale. It's typically right around a 3-year window.
3-year window.
So you're not buying a house, right? So if you go through that process, people will often ask, specifically to a sub 2, why would someone transfer title and stay on the mortgage? They want that debt serviced so they do not go into that credit default scenario, which is just brutal. It crushes you. It goes against everything we talk about here on the channel. This helps these people kind of save that, if you will, And ultimately, you as an investor get that kind of long dollar. You as a homeowner kind of get that saving grace, kind of that 11th hour where you're not getting put on the hook. You're not having these catastrophic credit issues that are going to prevent you and your family from being able to get credit extended to you for 3 years plus, depending, on the ultimate scenario. So, fantastic response to that, Scott. I appreciate that. How does this affect the housing market? So everything kind of comes into the fray here.
Yeah.
In your opinion, what does this do for the housing market? We all see the tea leaves. We see, forbearances lifting, moratoriums lifting. Now we're talking about taking advantage of those, which we always want to be prepared, guys. We always want to have a plan in place to someone's going to make money off doing these deals. And I plan on being one of them. Scott,
yeah,
you plan on being one of them as well. So how does this affect the housing market in general? What ripple effects do you think that are going to come into play here?
It's a really great question, and the reason it's a great question is because the technical answer. So somebody's behind in payments in their property. The typical course when you are behind in payments is you'll get notifications, and obviously credit's getting dinged a bit. But at the end of the day, if you don't make payments and you go into a full-blown foreclosure, ultimately, the bank, the lender, will buy the property back or foreclose the property and take it back. I say buy back at the sheriff's sale, kind of how the process works. Once the bank buys it back, it becomes what's called an REO, or real estate owned, and that now becomes a write-off on the bank's balance sheet. That's not necessarily the issue to the market, but now there's a true sale. So you have a true comparable sale now at a foreclosed price. So this would be not an arm's length transaction. This would be a foreclosed property. But now values are going to be predicated in part on this one comp. So now you have a house that goes into foreclosure. That's going to affect values, or has the potential to affect values in the area because it's a lower comp, not an arm's length transaction. So there can also be a ripple effect into the value of the properties around the subject to if it goes into foreclosure. And so ultimately, that can have a very negative effect on the housing market. So part of the benefit of saving a seller from going into foreclosure, aside from their credit, is that doesn't become another statistic of a foreclosed property, an REO, which then brings values down. The sale is not going to be hinged on or booked at that low foreclosure price. Does that make sense?
That absolutely makes sense to me. Obviously, the audience out there is going to probably have questions on that. Scott, you get so technical, and I love it, but for people at home, it may be a little hard to follow. What we want to do is go ahead and drop a link below. We're going to put all the videos for Little Pink Houses of America on there, which is a non-traditional real estate investment biz op, and also a Swiss Army knife.
Yeah.
If you will. So if you've got interest in hearing more about any of that, we're going to go ahead and drop the playlist for Pink below. Guys, go ahead and smash that thumbs up button below if you want to hear more information like this. Scott, if you're willing to come on for more episodes, we love the series, guys. We're getting tremendous feedback on this because no one knows about it, right? You can go out there online all day long and you're going to find very little information on subject twos, which we all know is going to be more and more prevalent coming up here with the market corrections, markets cooling down. It's not an if, guys. It's an absolute when. We're going to continue to bring Scott back here on the channel. If you are a subscriber, thanks for joining us again today. If you are not, go ahead and subscribe. We love having new like-minded folks here on the channel. And of course, ding that bell notification below. That's going to give you alerts as we bring more information like Scott, like real estate, like banking. Until next time, guys, thanks for joining us. Make it a great day.